All right, hello everybody. It is Thursday. I'm going to throw out my Thursday night pick in this video, and I'm going to talk about the Monday night game between the Chargers and Cowboys, and then cover a few topics that's been popping up throughout the week. You'll notice I'm outside. I just got finished doing an ice bath, so just warming back up, and I figured what better way to do the video than out here today. So, right off the bat, let's jump into the Thursday night game. There's not a whole lot to say about it, and the other topics I really want to hit on. So, Trevor Lawrence had I believe, a knee injury Sunday, left the game. They said if this game was Sunday this weekend, he would most likely play. They said he is trended towards a game time decision for this game. Now, if this was, an offensive lineman or a second or third receiver, I'd probably just go ahead and make my game pick and not really worry about the injury. But with it being a quarterback, it's kind of crucial to the game. It's kind of the same way with week one with Travis Kelce. I'd picked if he plays, I thought Kansas City would win. If they didn't, they would lose. So I'm doing the same thing with this game. Might have to do it with another game this weekend because there's a lot of injuries this past Sunday. But if Trevor Lawrence plays tonight, I think the Jags are the better team, and I think they will win. If Trevor Lawrence is not able to play, I think the Saints will pull out the win. Both teams have a pretty solid defense. The Jaguars' defense has been creating a lot of turnovers. I believe they're second in the league in forced turnovers this year. So their defense has played really well. This past Sunday, Travis Etienne really got involved and played really well. So I think they will have to rely on him if Lawrence doesn't play. And the Saints defense has been really good. They've held a lot of teams to 20 points or less for a very, very long stretch. I know they have not necessarily won a whole lot this year. But the defense played pretty well against Houston. Gave up a few big plays here and there, but for the most part, the defense kept them in the game. Their offense has just struggled. But ultimately, I do not think that'll be an issue tonight if Lawrence doesn't play. If the backup's playing, I think the Saints defense will have a great plan in place, and I think they will limit that offense, and I think they will pull out the win. Obviously, if Lawrence plays, it makes the game much different defensively for the Saints, and I think the Jaguars offense will be too much for them to handle. So that is my game pick. If Lawrence plays, Jaguars win. If Lawrence does not play, Saints win. Now, back to the Monday night game between the Cowboys and Chargers. I had said beforehand that this wasn't necessarily a must-win for either team, but I did say leading up to that game and the week leading up to it that the Cowboys really needed to win 2 of their next 3 games, and they started, and this was obviously after the loss to San Francisco. So I had said they needed to win 2 out of 3, and they won 1, the first one, so that's obviously a good start. And the reason I said that is because they were potentially going to be, if they don't win 2 out of the next 3, they're going to end up sitting at 4-4 halfway through the season. And if they were to lose one of the 3, the one I would had preferred it be would be the Chargers, because it's an AFC opponent, kind of irrelevant when it comes to tiebreakers and seeding, for playoff, if it's wild card or possibly division lead, whatever. Their next 2 games, they're on a bye week this week. They play the Rams and the Eagles. They absolutely need to win. I would say it's more important to win the Philly game than the Rams game, because that is a division game, and the easiest road for the playoffs is to win your division, so you get home playoff games. If you're worried about winning against the Rams for wild card seeding, then you're looking at it as the wrong way. Obviously, you want to win both games, so you have both the divisional seeding with the Eagles and playoff seeding overall with the Rams if it comes down to it being a wild card team. But I would say beating Philly is more important than beating the Rams. But a couple things that went on in this game. So Chargers immediately marched down, scored early after Cowboys kind of didn't do anything on their first drive, and then the Cowboys immediately went down and matched it. So it was knotted up at 7, and then the Cowboys ended up getting a field goal later in the half. And the Chargers offense after that first drive did not do anything until midway through the third quarter. We'll get back to that in just 1 second though. So to me, there was a severe game management, clock mismanagement issue with Mike McCarthy, something that has been a recurring issue with him as the head coach of the Cowboys. So with roughly around 45 seconds left on the clock before halftime, they completed a pass. It was to, I believe, to Gallup inbounds. He went out of bounds going backwards, so the clock continued to run. And Dallas had multiple timeouts, did not use them. They allowed the clock to continue to run, and then they ran another play, got down inside the red zone, and everyone thought they immediately called a timeout, but then the camera cut to Mike McCarthy, and he was saying, no, I don't want to use it, and the clock continued to run down to 3 seconds, where he did, in fact, call a timeout, and then they took the field goal to go into the half with a 10-7 lead. Now, to me, that told me the fact that you're not calling the timeout when Gallup went out of bounds and the clock continued to run, the fact that you didn't call a timeout right there meant, it immediately told me either A, you had, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that their next play was going to get them up the field and out of bounds and still have them a couple tries into the end zone before half. The next play did, in fact, get them up the field, but they didn't call the timeout immediately and let the clock run down like I just explained. So it told me immediately that the whole plan of that entire drive was to play for a field goal before half. So, and that bothers me. And I say it bothers me. It's, why are you being that conservative? It's a tie ball game. It's going into the half. You have a chance to move up the field. You could have called the timeout, had plenty of time to run several more plays. If you were confident enough in your team to get in field goal range by playing conservative, you should have been confident in your team to get in field goal range playing aggressively. And had you called that timeout after the Gallup catch, I believe it was Gallup, it could have been Cooks, but either way, it was one of the two. Had you called that timeout, it was roughly around 40 seconds on the clock. If your next play was the exact same play call and got you down in the red zone, at which point you could run up there and spike it, or run up there and run a quick play, but you could have given yourself 2, maybe even 3 plays to where you could have thrown the ball into the end zone. And in that situation, you could have told Dak, hey, only throw the ball in the end zone and only throw it to where your receiver can catch it. Like, throw it high if he's throw it to where he has to make a play on the ball. Don't throw it in the breadbasket per se unless he's wide open, but make a smart decision and put it to where only your player can get it, or make it to where no one can get it. And give yourself that chance to make 7 points. And they didn't even do that. They didn't even give Dak that chance. So afterwards, was it clock mismanagement? I don't think it was. I think the whole drive was mismanaged. And I say that because I think it was just extremely conservative and not a good decision to not at least take a chance on getting 7 points. The whole drive, you can tell the whole plan was to play for 3 points. So looking at it afterwards, it kind of tells me that McCarthy was playing for the 3 points. He did not want to give Dak the chance, and it almost seems as if he doesn't trust Dak in that situation after what's happened the last couple years in the playoffs. I don't know, but it just doesn't exude trust in his quarterback in that situation. Jerry Jones said he didn't agree with it, or he said he didn't understand why they didn't, take a few chances at the end zone, and no one else does. And I get it, like, Philly did not play conservative and they lost. San Francisco lost, but I wouldn't say that was because they were aggressive and didn't play conservative. But Philly didn't make smart decisions this weekend and they lost. So it was like McCarthy was determined not to make bad decisions and play it safe and win, which in this case it ended up working out. But it's just a bad look. When you had the chance to really lock the game up before halftime, because your defense was playing really good. Like, you weren't getting sacks, but you were getting pressure. Your defense was controlling the game. Go for the 7. If and at worst, settle for the 3. Don't just aim for the 3. So it tells me that there's some trust issues, or maybe McCarthy is just trying to make sure he makes good decisions and tries to win so that he's not on the hot seat as the season ends. Sorry, there's some squirrels going crazy over there. Now, obviously, I don't remember if it was second quarter or third quarter. Dallas got in the red zone. It was fourth and 1, 4th and 2, and they tried the brotherly shove like Philly does, and they did not get the first down. And that's the whole brotherly shove. That's a whole nother topic I may hit on later in this video. But they didn't get it, so they turned around and was aggressive then at that point. And it's like, okay, you weren't aggressive in the red zone before half, so why are you being aggressive in the red zone now? Like, take the 3 points, since that's kind of been your game plan all along, was take the points. But it could have put you up by 6 points, and it resulted in nothing. Ultimately, Brandon Staley returned the favor, got down in the red zone in the middle of the third quarter, went for it on 4th down, and came up as an incomplete pass. Chargers got nothing, so the failed brotherly shove was irrelevant. But I've bashed Brandon Staley for his decision making in game management situations like that, and I'm going to continue on this one. Your offense had not done anything since the first 5 minutes of the game. It went 10 minutes of the first quarter, all of the second quarter, and almost half, or a little over half, of the third quarter. So it had been over 2 quarters since you had been in a position to put points on the board. And you're going for it on 4th down, and the score was 10-7. You could have kicked the field goal, tied the game. That would have been the smart thing to do. But all these coaches want to look at analytics, and analytics are saying, okay, in this situation, this play or this game's been simulated, 10,000 times based off this situation, and it gives you, if you go for it on 4th down and you convert, your chance of winning jumps up 10% or 15%, and going for the field goal, your chance of winning only jumps up 3 or 4%, and your chance of losing, if not getting it, it goes down 2%. So it's a much more dramatic increase in chance of win with going for it, and a lot of these coaches now are going for it in these situations, and it's just not smart. Points win football games. Statistics or probabilities do not win football games. Points do. And it was just a bad decision. He should have taken the 3, because if that would have been the point, if the game would have played out, which I don't like speaking hypothetically, but had the rest of the game played out as it did, the Chargers would have been tied after Dallas's last field goal, and you could have just taken the knee, went to overtime, instead of trying to push the ball downfield and throwing that interception that ended up ending the game. Just really some bad coaching on both halves. Like I said, Brandon Staley not taking the points when he should have in a 3-point game, and then McCarthy being conservative before the half when he could have went for 7. Just not smart decisions. Doesn't really show confidence in Dak, and then it just doesn't show Staley's confidence or competence as a head coach. Now, do I think the Cowboys are back on track after that win? No, not necessarily. They beat a team they should beat. They beat a team that's not as good as them, and they did what they were supposed to. Now, they didn't play particularly great. Yeah, Dak played better. He connected a lot with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had a good game, but the running game wasn't there. And the defense, while it did get pressure consistently, it only got 1 sack, which is at the end of the game. Parsons got it, and then the next play it was the interception, so that was the 1 turnover they had. Herbert didn't play well. He missed Keenan Allen on a lot of throws that were wide open. He was short on a lot of throws that he's normally not short on. So neither team played particularly well. At this point, I do still have some concerns with Dallas, but it was a win going into the bye week. It was a bounce back from their terrible performance against San Francisco, so I can't fault them for the win. But I do still have some issues and concerns. Now, some things that have went on around the league. Obviously, the Eagles signed Julio Jones. He is a much older receiver, has been very ineffective really the last 4 to 5 years, in my opinion. And what can he provide for Philly? I think from management standpoint, and if you want to look at this as being successful, if there's 1 or 2 games throughout the rest of the season where you're in a bind, it's 4th down and you need to play, and you go to Julio and he converts, then and he helps you win that game, then ultimately, yeah, I think it's worth it. It's a smart signing because he's not going to be the focal point of the offense. He's not going to be asked to do much. I mean, he may only be on the field a couple plays every drive. Like, he may strictly be a red zone target. He may only play in the red zone because he's not going to take A.J. Brown's spot. He's not going to take Devontae Smith's spot. They're still going to be the top 2 receivers. He's going to be a complement to them. So if he gets 1 or 2 catches a game, gets a first down here and there, or gets a touchdown here and there, I think it's a good signing. But his health is going to be the thing, and how much juice he has in his legs. He's had a foot injury over the last couple years. You know, his foot's bothered him, so don't really know what he's going to be. Other things, Anthony Richardson undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. Just going to go ahead and fix that shoulder and get prepared for his sophomore year. It's a bummer for him being a top draft pick and then having the season he's had. It's a bummer for Colts fans. They've had really a lot of bad luck ever since Peyton Manning left. So don't really know what to say about that. Deshaun Watson, his shoulder injury, he said there's no timetable on his return. Although, again, reports last week were that he was technically medically cleared, but maybe he's not. I don't know if that's accurate, but who knows when he will get back on the field. And with the way their defense is playing, they really need him back on the field because they could really be a Super Bowl contender with him back on the field. I know there's been a bunch of other injuries that happened last week. Justin Fields dislocated thumb, wasn't able to grip the ball, so his status this week is in jeopardy. But we'll try to hit on some of that later on. What I really want to harp on now is some of these players are out of control with some of their statements, and they really need to get their heads in the game. So I'm going to hit on 3 players, kind of bash them. Cowboys fans aren't going to like it, but I'm going to bash on Micah Parsons a little bit. He said on his podcast that he didn't think it was right for the media to have a different energy when Philly loses than when Dallas loses. And what I have to say about this is I think he's starting to act like most obnoxious Cowboy fans. And obviously, I'm not a fan of the team. I don't love the team. I don't hate the team. I'm one of those people that it doesn't matter to me what the Cowboys do. I know a lot of people say, oh, you either love the Cowboys or you hate them. No, that's not the case for me. Really, I'm indifferent to them, like I am to the majority of the teams in the NFL. But one thing I will say is, like, he's wanting the Eagles to be bashed and be treated the same way the Cowboys are. So the Eagles, despite the fact that they were 2-0, 3-0, they were not getting the praise that the Cowboys were getting after week 1 and 2. Everybody wanted to talk about week 1 and week 2 and week 4 was how elite the Cowboys defense is, how good this Cowboys team is. Are they the best defense in the NFL? Are they on a historic pace? Can they be a historic defense? Dallas was getting a ton of praise. Even Dak was getting a lot of praise for being efficient with the ball and not turning the ball over in some of those early games. while Philly was winning those games, they weren't getting a lot of praise. Like, their offensive line was getting praise for playing good. The running game was getting some praise for playing good in a couple games, but Hurts was constantly being talked about as he's not playing as well as he was last week. And like I said, they were winning and they weren't getting the praise, while Dallas was getting a ton of praise. And now when they have lost, they have gotten a bunch of negative attention. But at the same time, Philly lost and they didn't get as much. So it's like, okay, Philly got the same amount of negative attention for losing as they were getting positive attention when they were winning. And they were still getting negative attention while they were winning. And he's unhappy that he thinks Dallas is getting a different energy. Like, Dallas is one of the most talked about teams because it for the big sports networks, they talk about the LA market. They talk about the New York market because that draws ratings. They talk about Dallas because it gets ratings. They talk about LeBron wherever he's at. You know, they talk about big name players and they talk about big sports markets, and Dallas is one of those. So they're going to get talked about. Jerry Jones is going to keep his team in the conversation, and that is going to cause, like, you're going to get a lot of attention being on Dallas. A lot of unnecessary and unwanted attention. But when you win, it's going to be a bunch of unnecessary and unwanted positive attention. When you lose, it's going to be negative. So it comes with the territory. And for him to sit here and say, I'm not talking to the media this week because they don't want to treat these other teams the same way when they lose as they do Dallas, well, they don't treat these other teams the same way they do when they win like they do Dallas. So it's one of them things where Dallas fans think that their team is treated unfairly by the media, and to an extent it is, but at the same time it's not. So they do get, like I said, they do get a lot of attention that is unnecessary, but when they win, it's good attention. When they lose, it's bad. That's it. It comes with the territory. I mean, like in 2020, when Rodgers was having a great season down the stretch, he was just lighting teams up. He wasn't getting talked about on a regular basis. They were talking about other quarterbacks, and it's like, okay, they're a small market. They're not going to talk about a small market team because it's not going to get them the ratings they want. So I think Michael Parsons needs to get his head out of his ass. I think he needs to worry about playing. He needs to continue to play. And on this same note, he got one sack in that game Monday night, and it was on the last drive of the game. It was a very crucial sack. It was in a big moment, and it was heavily talked about him coming through when the game was on the line. Now, 2 weeks before that, Khalil Mack got 6 sacks in a single game against the Raiders, and that got talked about less than what Parsons has gotten talked about every week that Dallas's defense has played well, no matter how many sacks he got. I mean, he got talked about more for his 1 sack this week than Khalil Mack did for 6 sacks in a game. And that's what I mean. He come through, he got a lot of attention. Had he not come through, he would get the negative attention, whereas Khalil Mack had a much better game, probably had the best game by a defender this year, and it was minimally talked about. So understand who you play for, and that your owner brings a lot of this attention to you. Your fans bring a lot of this attention to you, and suck it up and deal with it. Like, quit being a drama queen, not want to talk to the media. Like, do your job, go out, play, win, be great, and be done with it. Don't worry about anything else. And on that same note, Devontae Adams was a longtime Green Bay receiver, one of my favorite receivers. He said that he needs more targets for the Raiders to thrive, and he made the comment that he doesn't necessarily judge this thing by wins and losses. He judges it by his greatness, and that bothered me. Like, yes, he is a great receiver. He's a top 3, top 5 receiver in the NFL, 100%. I don't even think that's arguable at this point. I think it's pretty much fact he's a top 5 receiver. And for you to say that, I mean, you're one of the leaders on that team, you're a veteran on that team, and for you to say that you're not judging this by wins and losses, like, that's the whole reason you play the game, is like to win. Like, that's, as an owner, as a manager, a GM, a coach, Your job is to win games. Your job is to get players to win games. Your job is to find players, pay them, but the goal is to win games. That is it. Like, no GM, no coach, no owner is going to sit there and say, "Oh, our goal this season is to have our quarterback get 4,000 yards, or our quarterback to get 40 touchdowns, our running back to get 2,000 yards." No one's ever going to say that. That's never a priority. The priority is winning games, getting to the playoffs, getting to the Super Bowl, and winning. And this is a team sport. It takes the team. It takes everybody doing their part, and it's not always the part you want to be playing. Like, it's like a movie. You can have a great director, but a bad movie. You can have great actors, but a bad movie. It takes everyone to make a good movie and a great movie. And winning is the same way. You can go back with Philly and see the outburst A.J. Brown had, I think it was week 2 or 3, when they played the Vikings. And since then, they have fed A.J. Brown the ball. That next drive, they fed him the ball, and I think it cost them points. It could have cost them the game. Since then, Brown has had a lot of good production, but it's taken away from everybody else, and I think that has been a negative. When you're running the ball down people's throats and it's causing you to win, continue to do it. Like, yes, have that option of A.J. Brown, but I know you brought him in, you traded for him, you paid him, but you did so to help the team win. And if you're winning, that's all that matters. If you're winning and you're not happy and you're throwing fits and you're crying, you're selfish because you want to be the reason they win. When ultimately your job is simply to help the team win. And it's no specific way. It's not defined in anyone's contract of how you're supposed to help the team win. It's your contract is to be a part of the team and help the team win. So no matter how good you are, me personally, as a fan, I don't think anybody should be that selfish. I don't think anybody should be sitting there saying, I should be getting more targets, I should be more involved. Like, even if you're simply being a distraction and helping other people get production, winning is winning, and that is what you're supposed to do. If you go out and get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns one game, and then the next game that team game plans to stop you and get 5 catches for 40 yards and no touchdowns, but you win both games, what does it matter? Like, obviously, production-wise, the first game you were more productive, but you won both games. That's what is important, is winning. So for him to say he's not judging by wins and losses, that just shows selfishness to me. And like I said, I love Devontae Adams when he's in Green Bay. He's a great receiver, but it's a team sport. You're a team player, and your targets, your production, that should be irrelevant. If your team is winning, that should matter. Now, obviously, this is a much different conversation. If you're losing and you're not being featured, or you're losing, you're not getting the targets, and you think getting the targets can help the team win, a little bit different conversation. But the Raiders have won their last couple games. They've been playing a lot better. Jacoby Myers has been balling out. Garoppolo's been going to him. They have that connection. That's fine. If you're drawing attention and allowing that to open up, then let it be, because you're winning. That's what matters. And kind of on the same lines of that, on the topic of helping and hurting your team, DK Metcalf needs to get his head out of his ass as well. He has gotten another unnecessary penalty. After a play, he shoved a corner for the Bengals down on Sunday. He told coach he didn't know the play was over. I think that's bullshit. I think he absolutely knew the play was over. He was facing the direction of the play. He knew it was over, and he just shoved this dude down and got a penalty after the fact. And earlier in the season, it happened like week 1, and he said he's got to do better. And it happened last year before. It's happened several times, and he said he's got to grow up and play better, play smarter, not hurt the team. And then this week he said, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to change the type of player I am. I don't care how good you are. You cannot sit here and say doing that helps. It doesn't help the team. Like, you're causing your team to lose yards from penalties. And you can say it's competitiveness, you can say it's passion, you can say it's whatever you want. It is not any of that. you can take, I mean, look at Tom Brady. He was probably the most competitive player I've ever seen. And you can name any player that's super competitive. If you're that competitive and you want to win, and all you're trying to do is be the best you can be to help the team, you're not going to make dumb mistakes like that. And if you are making those mistakes, you're not going to say, I'm not going to change, I'm going to be who I am. No, you're going to say, I've got to do better, I've got to help this team. So for him to say that in the media, extremely immature, again, very selfish, similar to what Adam said. Like, grow up, be a team player and help the team. And it's simple. Like, I don't understand how you can say, like, oh, I don't think I'm hurting the team, and oh, it's just me being competitive. And like, being competitive means you want to win. And what do you do to win? Whatever you have to. And getting unnecessary penalties and costing your team yards, that's not helping your team win. So if you're competitive, you're doing the opposite of what you should be. If you're passionate and you want to make plays and you want to help your team win, then do that. But shoving somebody down, knocking them to the ground after the play, that's not helping your team. That's not being competitive. That's not being passionate. That's not doing anything except showing that you're easy. It's easy for people to get under your skin, and it's easy to make you throw a fit and easy to make you hurt your team. Grow up. So that was a big rant on all that. All three of those players, like, they're saying the wrong things, and it's not that I don't think any of them are good players. It's not that I don't think any of them want to win, but especially Parsons' case, because what he was saying has nothing to do with how he's playing or anything. But if your goal is to win games, you don't need to be saying what Adams and Metcalf, I just drew a blank. You don't need to be saying what they said to the media. You should be saying, as long as we're winning, I don't care about my production. I want to win. That's the goal, is to win. If you're in it for anything else, you're in it for yourself and not the team. Both of those players have been paid. I'm pretty sure Metcalf has been paid. So they're getting highly paid. So it should not be about what you're out there trying to do. It should be out there about the team. It's a team sport. And with Parsons, he should understand Dallas gets a lot of attention when they win. They're going to get the same amount of attention when they lose. And compared to this season, as I said, Philly's been winning and gotten less positive attention than Dallas has when they've won. In fact, again, Hurts has gotten negative attention even though they've been winning. So when they lose, they're not going to get as much negative attention as Dallas when they lose. So it's just facts of life, and something he shouldn't be saying, oh, I'm not talking to the media for that. Like, quit throwing a fit, do your job, fulfill your media obligations with your contract, go out there, play, win. I had something else I thought about hitting on middle of that, but drawing a blank on it at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video. So again, Thursday night football tonight. If Lawrence plays, I think the Jaguars win. If Lawrence does not play, I think the Saints win. We'll try to get back on track, get a better record on picks. I think I went 9-6 last week, maybe 10-5. But we'll try to get that back up and get those numbers better this week. We'll cover some more injuries in the video tomorrow or Saturday. Probably tomorrow. I got a competition Saturday, so we'll cover the rest of the game. Picks for the week. And hope y'all have a good... trying to think of what that was I was going to talk about. Give me a second here. I don't know. I'll go back and rewatch it, and I may hit on it in a later video. But anyway, hope your teams win this week. Unless you're a Denver fan, they're playing Green Bay, so obviously I hope Denver loses. And I will catch y'all in the next video when we do a recap of Thursday night football and hit game picks for the weekend. Have a good one.